Cameron Guthrie is set to play his 200th AFL match against Greater Western Sydney. Guthrie was drafted with pick number 23 in the 2010 AFL draft, selected out of the Calder Cannons in the TAC Cup via the Sunbury Lions. Guthrie began his career as a small defender, learning from the likes of Matthew Scarlett and Corey Enright in an experienced defensive group. He graduated into the midfield in 2014, first playing a run with role on some of the game's most damaging midfielders, before stepping into a more defined ball-winning role a season later. Guthrie produced his best season in 2020, claiming a maiden best and fairest and his first All-Australian Blazer. He's played in 15 finals in his career, including last year's losing grand final, and has a winning percentage of 67% in the games that he's played. Cam also happens to be my brother. Welcome to the Over the PA podcast, Cam.
Thanks very much for having me, Ben. I know we've done a couple of these for my milestones in the past, some different formats, but it's good to be on with you.
What does it mean to you to play 200 AFL games?
Yeah, it's it's a great feeling. I think when you kind of come into the league and maybe like project ahead a little bit as to what it might hold, I didn't really think 200 games would necessarily come my way. I remember having some kind of conversations with some of the older players who I think we'll chat about a little bit later when I first kind of came into the AFL system, and I was kind of doing a few good things on the training track and played some early footy in my career, and they kind of mentioned that the way I'm kind of going, I might get to 200 games, but that felt a long way away at that time. So to be here now, in some aspects it's felt quick, and in others it's kind of felt like it's dragged, but from whatever perspective, it's good to be here.
Yeah, well, for one, I'm really proud of you, so congratulations. But we've started very serious, so we're going to go into a little bit of a little bit of fun, and I think we'll go back to sort of the start of your journey. Obviously, we grew up in Sunbury, Victoria, which is a town northwest of Melbourne, 45 minutes northwest of Melbourne, where I've got a family. We've got 3 brothers, mum and dad, so a family of 6. What was growing up in a big family like for you?
I loved it. I think we had a great childhood. First off with our parents, they were kind of always there for us, and I think they really put us first, which I think as a kid you probably don't appreciate. You think that's kind of just the way it is, and that's the way all families are. And obviously having yourself and our other 2 brothers to grow up with provided plenty of options, kind of entertainment-wise, and we kind of have always been into the same thing. So sport included, footy included. Plenty of battles in the backyard, plenty of 2-on-2 footy, 2-on-2 basketball. I remember Josh throwing a discus through the window. So like Olympics, like we'd get pumped up and like we'd want to do everything. We'd want to like play cricket, all of that, and running races. So it was pretty fun.
You get pretty competitive as well in the backyard, 2-on-2 basketball especially.
Yeah, I think. Kind of whatever happened, no one kind of came inside happy after a big battle, and a few dust-ups over time as well.
A couple of concussions as well, I remember.
Yeah, there's a couple. I remember you bowled a cricket ball and clobbered me on the head with it, I think, one day. And
should have had a helmet on.
Yeah, I should have had a helmet on. But, yeah, silly kids. But, it was awesome. I think we really... I think you underestimate how much you can kind of refine your skills at that age, and I kind of find it pretty amazing that people can kind of transfer to another sport pretty late, because I think a lot of the skills that I learned does go kind of all the way back to when I was 7, 8, 9 years of age.
Exactly, and I think having 3 brothers for us, so there's 2 years between myself and you, and then our next brother Josh as well. So there's 6 years between myself and him. Obviously 4 years between you and him, and then Zach as well, who's at Geelong as well. So I think being able to muck around in the backyard and, as you said, refine your skills was something that really stood us in really good stead for our sporting achievements.
For sure, and I think those age groups was like mum and dad did really well with their planning. I'm not sure how much they planned it, but it was like me versus you, and then one of us would have one of the younger boys in our teams as well. So it was good. But now, we're at an age, we're still pretty competitive. We'll still get the basketball out or whatever. A couple of years ago, we were travelling through the States together, and had an intense game of beach volleyball and stuff. So now it's me and you versus those two because they get on pretty well. So, all good fun.
Definitely. Just going back to your junior footy career. So you started off with Sunbury Lions, and that was our local club. You came in, and I guess you were a standout from a junior age. But you were always bigger than most of the other kids, especially when you got to sort of like 13, 14. So you're playing remember you were playing like key forward, which is a totally different position to what you played when you've been playing for Geelong.
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, what was the first part of your question again? I can't remember.
You started off playing for the Sunbury Lions.
Yeah.
And what was that like growing up and playing for the Lions?
Yeah, it was really good. I don't know if I remember being like that much bigger than everyone else. I think you've painted a bit of a picture that I was like a monster, but I wasn't really. And well,
maybe you had better. Oh, you had like a really good athleticism, so you'd be able to go into the ruck, you'd be able to play.
Yeah, not too bad. Forward. Thank you. I think as a junior footballer, for anyone listening out there who might be a bit younger or training younger kids or a coach or that kind of thing, I think it's really important to be exposed to a number of different positions. I think that really develops the way you kind of see the game. Obviously, your skills, different skills are required for different positions. It's been a while since I've kind of played as a forward. I've had a little stint as a forward a few years back, and probably it had been a while between like playing as a forward as a junior and playing in the AFL as a forward, and I did find it tough. So I think now that I'm at AFL level, I do think that it does take some training up to play a specialist position, and players who can kind of adjust really well and really quickly. I really admire that because it's tougher than it looks. Our
dad Andrew coached all of us during our football careers, except for Zach. He played a couple of games for Essendon and Fitzroy going back as well. So he really understood the game, and I guess one thing that really leaps out to me that people are a little bit perplexed about is that we never really followed a team as such growing up. Dad was onto us about following individual players, making sure that we analysed their game, learnt about their running patterns, etc. And I think that really helped us refine, as you said, our skills and the way we sort of understood the game as well. Do you think that helped you understand the game and then ultimately allowed you to get to the next level?
Yeah, I think so. I think when you're looking at something unbiasedly, you do learn a lot more and get a lot more out of it. I think it's kind of set the tone for the rest of my life a little bit. I find it hard to get attached to like sports teams like at all now. Like I just kind of, if I'm watching another sport, I love watching the NFL, for example. I don't really see myself latching onto a team. Like I like watching players move and why they're so good, and even like take some of the skills that I see that don't necessarily directly correlate, but maybe just a tiny little aspect of it does, and trying to implement it into my game or my movement patterns. So, don't get me wrong, I love our fans, and I love that they're really one-eyed and passionate and that kind of thing. But I think if you're kind of looking to develop yourself, taking a step back and looking at it logically and not kind of analysing it with your heart as much and more your head, I think that is probably a little bit better to do it that way.
Don't worry, we're invested now, aren't we?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
You went down to the Calder Cannons at age 15, so that was, for those who don't know, that's Sunbury's TAC Cup, now NAB League feeder club, and you made your debut in the under 18s, but you were 16 at the time.
Yeah. Yep.
So playing and getting that experience as a young person, you played with some really good teams down there through the under 17s and 18s. What was that like playing with Calder, and ultimately probably getting some great tutelage from some really good people too?
Yeah, definitely. I'll start with that. I think kind of going down as a 15 or 16-year-old to that environment, for me anyway, I'm not sure if there was like other super confident kids out there, but I was like a little bit like, well, I've done okay at local level and I feel like I've got some skills and like something to offer at least, but I didn't step into that environment and expect to go really well or play for Calder in the TAC Cup in the under-18s. I was kind of there for the experience, obviously, but my expectations weren't too high. And then it being an under-18 competition and playing in that competition as a 15-year-old, I kind of was like, well, maybe I am on the right track, and it probably instilled a fair bit of confidence into me being able to run out and kind of compete at that level. I played 3 games kind of in that year, and I think that was the limit. A couple of other players did the same thing because I think our under-18 team at that time wasn't particularly strong. So I think that exposure, and that probably runs a little bit parallel with my AFL career, kind of getting 2 games in my first season in a team that went on to win a premiership. I can kind of draw some similarities between those, I guess, 2 experiences. And then, to go on, and I played a lot of footy as a 17-year-old, a lot of footy as an 18-year-old in the TAC Cup, represented Vic Metro in the under-18s, played on some really good players from different states who I guess the media was talking about being high picks and top 5, top 10 picks, and I did kind of okay jobs on them, or nothing that I guess I felt like out of place trying to play on them. Like, I didn't feel like I absolutely dominated them or anything like that, but I was kind of like, oh, maybe I kind of can do this. And then kind of leading into like late in your under-18 career, I was a little bit still like I don't know if AFL clubs kind of still want me. And then I was kind of talked about being a first round pick, and that kind of blew my mind, and I ended up going at the end of the first round, pick 23 to the Cats. So I think, it's kind of those, like the last 3 years of school, I think for anyone are kind of big changes and new experiences, but throw in, trying to get drafted and then being drafted as well, that was, a massive experience.
Yeah. You probably put aside your disappointment because not being selected for the Vic Metro under-16s, which is usually a pretty logical pathway to go on to under-18s and then clearly get drafted. But you really bounced back really well from that. And I think, as you mentioned, those roles that you played on, Jared Pollack, Harley Bennell, and then it was Dyson Heppel in the TAC Cup Grand Final, was probably the catalyst for you getting drafted. Teams were able to see you could play some really disciplined roles on some great players, because I remember at the start of that your draft year, so 2010, it was no certainty that you were going to get drafted at all. Like, we probably didn't think that. And then you get to the end of the year, and as you were saying, like, all of a sudden you're in the first round pick category. Do you think that confidence came from playing on those players and just believing in yourself as well?
Yeah, I think that's a good lesson. First of all, like, when I played under 16s, so before I played as a 15-year-old in the TAC Cup, you play in the under 16 competition at the start of the year, and then you can go on and play for your state team, which for me was Vic Metro being in that zone. And I didn't really get a look in there. I think they picked like a squad of 40 or something, and I didn't make the squad, and then they take a final team of 25. And I kind of didn't think I was maybe going on the right track, but I think missing that kind of opportunity opened up an opportunity with Calder, and like in the end, like I think footy and life and different work roles, like it's all a matter of someone's opinion, which is kind of lucky if it goes right for you, and unlucky for others in different situations. So I didn't think it was thought that I wasn't good enough to play in the under-16s Vic Metro side, but then a whole new kind of coaching staff of under-18 coaches saw me and saw something in me, and kind of they were able to develop my footy because they formed an opinion that I might be able to end up being a good TAC Cup footballer and maybe an AFL player. So I think if there's a lesson there to be learned, it's just because someone doesn't like the way you've done one thing, there's always going to be someone else who kind of appreciates you.
Draft night, what were your recollections of that?
Yeah, it was a great night. I was obviously tuned in pretty closely. I think I was in the Gold Coast that year because it was going to be their first time in the competition the following year, and they might have had 15 or so people up on the Gold Coast. Some of my teammates who were going to get picked early, but I was just watching at home. I wasn't expecting to be like a top 10 pick or something. So tuned into Fox Footy and kind of did the first 10 picks, and then slowly, I think they did the first 10 picks like slowly to build a bit of a
stage when jumper presentations and everything. Yeah,
and then they kind of end up rolling through the next kind of picks. So they got to pick, like, if I didn't get drafted that night, I probably wouldn't have been surprised still. Like, I know we kind of we spoke about, ended up being in the category of possibly being a first round pick, but until it happened, I didn't really believe it. So kind of teens, and then I saw some of my teammates go, which was super exciting. And then got to Geelong, and I remember their recruiting staff came out during the year, and we had a good chat. And I think I got a good feeling about the club then. I'm not sure why. I think we kind of just clicked. I think 3 of the recruiters came out, and
What was he? John Peake?
I don't know, it wasn't John Peake. It was Luke and Michael McMahon as well.
Yep.
So those 3 came out.
Yep.
And I'll speak about something else here. Turns out, like, I'd kept some notes from what Geelong recruiters were looking for from kind of newspaper articles earlier that year or over time. I had a book that I collected, and kind of Dad got me started on that. And I had like a snippet about what Geelong look for in potential players, and there was 3 or 4 criteria from memory. It was like skill level, maybe
Competitiveness?
Yeah, that was one. Yeah, definitely. Reading the play, and then competitiveness was like their big one. So, and I think we've got a really competitive culture here. I've only missed finals once in kind of my 10-year career, and I think that kind of really shows it's not just kind of empty words. And the other article I kept was how the 2007 Premiership team was kind of built, and the attributes that a lot of those players kind of brought to the table. So the way it worked out was pretty amazing from that perspective. And then, called out at pick 23. I think Mum was the happiest.
She was.
We kind of did a weird thing where we set up like a video camera on the side of the room on like a table to like film our reactions.
Yeah.
And
this is before mobile phones. Like,
true.
You set that up. It was just like on a camcorder.
Yeah, I don't think I even had a mobile phone. So we got that. We should fish it out. I have no idea where it is.
Yeah.
And Mum was pumped because I was staying in Victoria, obviously. I would have been happy to kind of go anywhere. And, I do remember actually, like, I didn't have a mobile phone because Mum's phone was blowing up with, like, text messages from, people we know, because they couldn't get in contact with me directly. But then...
The home phone was calling?
Yeah, home phone was calling. We still had home phones back then. And, like, my teammates, like my new Geelong teammates, were messaging Mum, which was kind of embarrassing. I remember like chatting to Joel and Lingy on Mum's phone, and like going from a fan, I went to the 2010 grand final and saw Collingwood and St Kilda play. I went to the replay, and going from like a fan a couple of months earlier, doing your Year 12 exams, and then now you've got AFL teammates, is a bit of a whirlwind. But it was good. It was a great experience. Still, I probably don't look back on it enough because it was super important, and it's a big reason why I'm here today.
Yep. So you go to Geelong, you get handed number 29. Obviously, Gary Ablett's steeped in the tradition. There was a fair bit made of it in the media and that sort of thing, but knowing you just would have put that to the side and not even worried about it. And then you make your debut in round 1, 2011 against St Kilda, which was Chris Scott's first game in charge as well. That must have been a pretty special moment, and probably, obviously Scotty's been here a long time as well, a real connection point for you over the journey. Yeah,
definitely. I think, I think myself and Scotty's relationship, I feel like he's always got my back as a person and a player, and that's something that I really appreciate. And I guess we are kind of connected by, that fact that he kind of came on board the year that I got to the club, I played in the first game. He coached and his first win and that kind of thing. So it's been a great journey for both of us.
Just on the first win, you were cramping.
Yeah,
Cramping at the top of the square.
it was an amazing team highlight.
Darren Milburn kicked that goal.
Amazing team highlight. I think Dasha, he kicked the winner with under a minute left or something.
Yeah.
And I think there's a big step up from obviously boys footy to AFL competition, and I was cramping the whole last quarter. So while my team was celebrating, I'm off like doing a calf stretch, which wasn't my best moment. But that was an awesome way to start my career, and probably like even playing round one in your first year, that kind of crept up on me as well. So not necessarily like expecting to do that kind of thing, but I've probably always been someone that prepares for whatever may unfold. So I came in, and I think now as an experienced player in the pre-season, if we have like match play, like if I'm going 100% against North Melbourne this week in GWS in my 200th game, you kind of pull it back a bit when you're kind of an experienced player. But I think when I was an 18-year-old, I'm like, well, if he's going 80% or James Kelly, if James Kelly's going to 80% and I'm going 80%, his 80% is a lot better than mine. So to match that, I'm going to have to just treat this like a game. And I think kind of effort and preparation has always been something that I value and try to implement.
Yeah, you decked Steve Johnson, didn't you, at one stage during training, and he told you off. And someone said to you, "Oh, keep doing that because we want to see that," or something.
Yeah, I think you're right actually, or something like that. I can't remember the exact thing that happened, but I think I remember Joel chatting to me in the recovery centre one day, and I don't even know if it was Stevie necessarily, because there's always like even at training it's physical, and sometimes you don't like the treatment that your teammates give you or whatever, but it's never over the top. But he was kind of like, keep doing it, keep going, and that was kind of like my cue to take that on and keep doing what I was doing.
Yep. You play one more game in that season, so 2011, and then I think it was against Fremantle as well. Yeah, the whole family made the trip across for that. And then your emergency for the 2011 grand final. Obviously, you didn't get back to a grand final until last year. Did you realise the enormity of that occasion? You were one of the emergencies when Steve Johnson was in a bit of doubt with that knee injury, obviously, with a number of other players. But, did you realise what that meant at the time?
I think I did realise the enormity of it because, I guess what we've spoken about, missing out on like representative teams or whatever, had kind of happened along the way. But I think I didn't mind that in a way, but when it was going to be missing out on your team playing in the grand final, I think that really kind of affected me. And I reckon that probably drove my career for the next probably 3 or 4 years, not wanting our team to reach the grand final again and me miss out on being in the team. So I think I used that as a bit of a driver to kind of further my career. And then I've probably been a regular part of the team for the last probably 7 or 8 seasons, really. And I guess in a way, like when I was young and had played 2 games that year and 2011 grand final and I missed out, I was probably a little bit like dirty. Because not that I felt that I was better than people that did play, but like it's a bit of an opportunity missed and that kind of thing. But I think now that I'm 28 and almost 200 games into my career, like looking back at that doesn't seem like a massive issue to me anymore, and it's kind of onwards and upwards, and like kind of just getting on with it and looking to the future now. And I'd love to see our group of players be able to kind of reach that again. Everyone's kind of like, it'd be I've never played in a premiership, so if this year we kind of did go all the way, it'd be my first premiership. It'd be Joel's first premiership as captain, like there's still a lot of firsts. Like even though he's a 3-time premiership player, it's still really exciting for everyone involved.
For sure. So you started your career at Geelong as a small defender, so playing on the likes of Cyril Rioli, who I think that was probably one of the best matchups for you in terms of the way you performed. I think you really rose to that occasion. You did pretty well on one of the best players to ever play. What did that playing in a role like that teach you, and playing with experienced heads like Matthew Scarlett, Corey Enright, Darren Milburn around you?
Yeah, I really loved those opportunities to play on good players like Cyril. I think they suited the way that I went about my footy early on. I was probably not too didn't play with too much flair or anything like that. If I came into the team and they were like, all right, you're playing on Cyril, I was like stoked because I didn't almost have to think too much about the game, and that gave me not confidence, but it was like I wasn't too panicked by it because it was quite simple, and I reckon that's a good cue for anyone coming in and debuting or early in their career, just to simplify it for them and give them a couple of things max to focus on, and let maybe more experienced players who have been around and done it a fair bit before kind of take control and think about this or that. And then, yeah, probably the defensive group that I came into was one of the best maybe ever. If you kind of look at games played,
Premierships on.
accomplishments, premierships, all that kind of thing. But like they were always a really like relaxed kind of group. Like I think they had a bit of a reputation for being a little bit maybe mean or nasty or
Mouthy.
Yeah, something, all those things. But like you're kind of in the rooms before the game, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, we're playing a big game here." But they had like quiet confidence, which is probably the best kind of confidence. Like they didn't have to get themselves right up every week and play really well one week and then come crashing back down the next. They were always just ready to go, confident in what they could do out on the field. And I think when you get to that level, you can achieve some pretty good things. I think, even though we haven't gone all the way the last couple of years, for example, I think we've got players who are share those same characteristics.
Yeah. So obviously we mentioned started off as small defender, moved into the midfield in 2014, 2015, and you played a fair bit as a run-with player, and that was probably a good way to graduate you into a different area of the field. It probably suited you to be defensive-minded at that time of your career. I remember you played on Patrick Dangerfield when he was at Adelaide. Yep. Was that round one? It was early in the season anyway.
Yeah, early in the season.
Yeah, yep. And I think he was in amazing form, and I reckon you ran with him. You were in his back pocket pretty much the whole game. So, what was that like to prepare and play roles on some of the game's best midfielders like that?
Yeah, it was something that I really looked forward to. Even though Paddy is a star now and he was a star then, I didn't necessarily look at him and think he was kind of this unbeatable kind of player. Like I always had some confidence in my abilities that if I did it the right way, prepared well, and went out with kind of a good attitude, I guess, as simple as that. Things, will go my way. I basically thought there was kind of no question about it. So I remember looking at vision with Troy Selwood, who was here at the time, and he'd kind of done a few of those roles before, and he kind of chatted me through how I could go about those kinds of things. And it was like a nice introduction to the midfield, I think. I look at kind of young midfielders and maybe people in the media saying, oh, you're not getting enough of the ball, or you're not doing this, not doing that. There's a fair bit to it in there, and I think, again, that was probably playing to my strengths, being a bit more defensive and then, seeing the way that those guys kind of go out their footy and then kind of developing a bit more of an offensive game from there.
Yeah. As you said, you moved into a bit more of a fully fledged midfielder, became a bit more ball oriented, and that was 2015. So remember at the start of that 2014 preseason going into 2015, that was probably when you really improved your endurance and your ability to repeat runs. So what do you reckon sparked that appetite for work, and was it something that really clicked for you?
Yeah, probably not one thing, but I just wanted to be the best player that I could. Like, I wanted to. I knew there was like a chance to maybe evolve from being just a small defender to a midfielder, and I was like, well, if that's going to happen, I don't want to be left behind. So I probably made it a bit of a priority to improve my kind of endurance space then, and then like just going back to what we spoke about before about like missing opportunities. Like, I didn't want to like miss an opportunity to perform well if it kind of came to that. So and being on an AFL field is like a whole different ball game. Like, there were a lot of skills that you could easily execute on the training track. But then coming into an AFL game, it took me a while to be able to just do them like automatically. Like kicks that I'd make at training with ease, like, seemed a much bigger deal at AFL level. So I think there's a big period of finding your feet, which is why I kind of take the approach of being like patient with young players. Like, they kind of come in and a lot is expected of them. But I reckon like starting as a role player and kind of evolving from there is kind of a great way to kickstart yourself.
Yeah. Probably a real highlight for you in your career is when Zach arrived at the club. So May's debut in 2017, you had the opportunity to present his jumper before the game as well. So May's debut against GWS, and the whole family went up for that. And Nana and Grandpa made the trip up as well, which was
the famous phone call.
Yeah, which was awesome. What's that been like playing with Zach, and I guess sharing those experiences, even playing finals with him as well?
Yeah, well, I think even if I end up being a premiership player at the end of my career, I think because we are so close, I still think playing with one of my brothers at AFL level for multiple games will be my kind of career highlight. Obviously, I love kind of being out in the field with him, but when you're at the same team, you do spend a lot of time with each other at training. Like, you're often on the same schedule, so after training we spend a lot of time together. We like playing golf together, so I think it's those moments that I'll kind of cherish just as much. So I think kind of two brothers playing together at AFL level is a good effort, but kind of same team, it kind of couldn't have worked out any better. I think my ultimate dream would be to play in a premiership with Zach and accomplish both. Kind of those two highlights together would be amazing.
Hopefully it happens at the end of this year.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. Footy is a game that has a lot of ups and downs, and there's some setbacks along the way as well. So you've had your fair share of injuries. You've missed a preliminary final with a calf injury. Sort of been something that was recurring for a couple of years there. So what strategies did you put in place to help yourself through those? I remember there were a couple of things that you did.
Yeah, looking back, I think my strategies probably weren't enough. Obviously, you take on board what the physio and doctors say from a medical point of view. The fitness staff run your training program and kind of keep you fit while you're injured. If you got a calf, you can't run, obviously, so you do a bike to maintain your fitness. But I think maybe from a mental level, like, I probably didn't approach it on, like, not as well as I could. It was probably more naivety. Like, I kind of have always come through and been a player that hasn't really had to deal with too many injuries. There's been a couple in my underage days, but not too much. So I think they were big learning opportunities for myself. I think now I'm really well placed. If it, touch wood, doesn't ever happens again, I'll be able to do that. So I think like AFL players, I think you sometimes forget how young they are, and maybe what they haven't experienced before. So, yeah, I think that there's probably a 3-year period where I had some calf injuries, had an ankle injury, and I probably wasn't sure of the exact things to put in place to make sure that when I came back fully fit, I was ready to kind of come out and hopefully dominate. And I think that's a lot of that was mental.
Yeah. A couple of things I think you did were you'd probably see yourself cycling on the bench at half time or in the rooms of the game and stuff like that, just to sort of keep your movement going so that you wouldn't seize up. And
yeah,
I think those sorts of strategies probably, along with your mindset, were something that you really look to approach.
I think nowadays I'm ultra, what's the word when you
careful?
No, not careful, because I don't think you should be careful as an AFL player, but ultra prepared, and I just want to tick every box so that I hate the idea of a preventable injury occurring to myself and missing games and not being out there. So I've got a prep to train routine that I do every morning, a prep to play routine that I do before every game, and it's something that's been pretty continuous for the last kind of 3 years, and I'm pretty I have to do it. I'm not superstitious about it, but I kind of love doing it.
Stone unturned.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, definitely.
You look back at the season last year, there was a lot of volatility around it with the COVID restrictions. You guys, as players, were up in hubs in Queensland, and there was a lot of disruptions to your life. But probably, from a numbers point of view at least, that was clearly your best individual season. I remember one thing that you told me was around your approach to training, and I don't think you've ever had a bad mindset to training, but maybe last year it was something like, all right, well, now I'm in this sort of period of my career, I'm going to approach training and actually really love it as well. It's not a chore, just something that I'm going to come out and really relish. Do you think that mindset helped you produce your best season?
Yeah, I think the whole COVID experience was a good chance to reassess, probably yourself, what's around you, what you want to achieve, all that kind of thing. And round one last year, so we got round one away normal.
Yep.
And so we went up to GWS and played the Giants, and we got beaten. And I really wasn't happy with how I played. I thought I had a really good pre-season, but wasn't really satisfied with my performance. So it almost came at a really good time, that big, 6 or 7 week break.
6 weeks, I think it was.
And I was like, all right, when I come back, I don't want to feel like I did again after the GWS game, that you kind of come into it with high hopes and you don't deliver on what you think you're capable of. Yep. And I think that period allowed me to assess where I was at in my career. I was probably coming off a couple of injury, not ravaged, because I kind of ended up playing a few games through this career, but interrupted seasons.
Yep.
And I think approaching the year after that, going to hubs and thinking, well, everyone was a bit doom and gloom. This is the worst. Why aren't we home? All that stuff. I kind of took it as maybe this is a good chance, if people aren't enjoying the experience, it might give me a bit of a leg up and give me a bit of an advantage. And I think that's the way it worked out, but only because that was my mindset. I would have been in the same shoes, but I think it's amazing kind of what your mind can achieve if you put it to work in the right way.
Yeah. Do you think it was a culmination of the hard work that you've put in, 10 seasons at AFL level? You're probably in that peak point of your career now where, you're 28. You're probably in the best point of your career. So do you think that was a bit of a combination of that hard work coming to fruition?
Yeah, I think so. And I think there's probably a lot of situations on the field now. There's not a lot that I haven't seen. I feel like I've experienced it's pretty general, but like getting beaten by a lot, winning easily, close games, and then actually doing certain skills and being in certain game situations and that kind of thing. So, and I think that my body's at a good stage as well. I haven't really had a bad injury for the last couple of years. I missed a couple with my shoulder this year, but I feel like I've kind of bounced back and that's feeling really good now. So, kind of onwards and upwards from here and looking forward to a good final series.
For sure. Do you think can you do things now, like obviously winning a fair bit more of the ball than what you had at the start of your career? Do you feel as though now you can go out onto an AFL field and do more than what you could when you first sort of started because you do have that positive mindset?
Yeah, kind of going back to that mindset, I think your mind's a powerful tool. So kind of coming into games, honestly, you don't always feel like going out and playing hard. Like you might be carrying a slight injury and the game rolls around and you don't feel like you're at your best and you're kind of dreading it because you don't want to be kind of caught out and look foolish on the field because you're not going to be able to beat your peak. But I think if you take the mindset of like for me coming into a game, I'm like, all right, the game's going to happen no matter what. So you can either play badly, or you can try bloody hard and have the game work for you. And that's not always an easy thing to do because it doesn't all go to plan. But I think if you've kind of got that attitude, it kind of ends up coming back your way a little bit. And things I make skill errors and mistakes every game, but I think the best players, and some of our coaches talk about this, I know Nigel Lappin talks about this, the best players make just as many mistakes as everyone else, but they just get on with it and know they're going to do better the next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did the best and fairest and All-Australian selection mean?
Yeah, I think probably...
while you're thinking, you being All-Australian last year, I knew you were a good player and a consistent player, but you were among the best 22 players in the AFL for that season. So I think for me it was a really proud moment as a older brother, and I think for you to be able to achieve that with everything that was going on last year as well, your mindset was really consistent. I felt like it was a massive thing for you.
Thank you. I think that's an interesting way to frame a question. What does it mean to you? It kind of feels like you should be able to delve really deep and think about I don't know, it gets a bit I don't know.
Convoluted?
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm trying to say exactly, but I think first of all, winning a best and fairest for an AFL team, it sounds weird now because I've done it and I don't want to kind of toot my own horn here, but before I'd won it, in the years kind of leading up to it, I was like, that's an amazing achievement. But when you've done it, it doesn't feel as amazing. So I think, and probably the same as being an All-Australian, I was like, wow, All-Australian players are this talented. They're amazing. They're a step above the competition. But kind of now that I've done both of them, they don't feel as prestigious almost. It kind of doesn't change who I am as a person. Although it feels like a great accomplishment, it's not like I'm 25% more confident or I'm way happier now that I've achieved those milestones. So it's nice to see myself on my locker, I've got a bit it might be an asterisk next to my name, or oh no, that's on the playing board on my locker. I've got a little medal next to my name, so
something denotes the
achievement. To kind of tell that.
Yep.
In 10 years' time when I'm not here, if someone looks up there, they'll know that I kind of won a best and fairest. So to kind of be up there forever now is, kind of cool to think about.
Yeah. I think one thing for any footballer that's really important is having balance away from the field as well. So we might go a little bit into you away from the field. So you got a partner, Lauren, who has been a really big influence for you. Her daughter Carmen as well. So she probably came into your life when you were playing some of your best footy as well.
Yeah, she probably wants to take all the credit for that. Yeah, well, they both came to the hub last year, and it was probably really helped my experience. I think maybe some of the young guys, for example, who weren't as settled in their life, a lot of the older guys kind of have kids and wives and partners and that kind of thing. And I reckon that would have been a tough challenge for those guys, but having them up there, they were a great support for me, and they really enjoyed the experience, and it probably helped me enjoy mine a lot more. And they've been a super support kind of network for the last 6-7 years. But I think probably extending on top of those guys like you and mum and dad and my brothers and extended family and friends as well. I feel like we've always been lucky that we've always had a great support network around us. And honestly, I kind of don't know how people do it if they don't have that. That's how much it kind of means to me and how much I get out of it.
Yeah. A few of your hobbies away from the field as well. I think these are the things that we really want to like to discuss. So golf, surfing,
love it.
NFL fantasy. Let's go to NFL fantasy because we're both massive NFL fans.
We are.
There's a huge competition at the club, isn't there, as well, with past players and current players?
Yeah, so I'm in 4 leagues. It actually takes up so much time, but I love it, and I probably could be doing something really productive in that time to, I don't know, make me look if I spent the same time looking at the share market, for example, as the same time I check my fantasy team, I'd be a very rich man. So I'm probably leaving myself a few dollars on the table there. But so we've got a family and friends league, which we do. We do a current Geelong listed players competition. I think there's 12 of us in that league, and that's kind of good to come in Monday morning. You get up, it's usually pre-season for that timing in the year. Get up, set the alarm for 3:30 a.m. Get up, tune in then, watch literally 4.5 hours of Red Zone and the morning's games, and then come into training, have a bit of a discussion with the boys about who's going well, who went off, who got injured and left some points on the table for you, and then get into a big day of pre-season and train from 9 till 5, and it's boiling hot, and you get home and you're absolutely wrecked because you've been up since 4. And then it's actually a great way to keep in touch with some of the past players as well. We have a competition with a lot of the guys who were in that kind of 2007 to 2011 successful premiership period, and we kind of haven't done it the last couple of years through COVID, and there's people all over the place now living in different states, and we have a trophy and we have a dinner for the winner and that kind of thing. So it's all good fun, but as I said, it's probably if you don't win, it's probably not worth the wasted hours, but I enjoy it just the same.
You also do some stuff that's productive as well. I'll give you that.
Thank you.
So you study off the field. So you've done a Bachelor of Health Science. You've deferred that, but you're currently doing Bachelor of Applied Management, isn't it?
Yeah, so I got halfway through a Bachelor of Health Sciences degree at La Trobe, and I ended up taking a Diploma of Health Science with the credits that I got, and currently doing a Bachelor of Applied Business through La Trobe as well. So I have no idea what I want to kind of end up doing after footy. Or not no idea. I've got a few ideas of kind of what I'm interested in, but I'm still not sure what role I'll find myself in post-career. Who knows? I think I've always had the perspective of when I get to the end of my career, I don't want to think that my best years are behind me. I want to finish my time as an AFL player and be excited for what the future holds, and not get to the end and be desperate to hold on to an AFL career or be an AFL player because I'm not well rounded in other aspects of my life. So I I think that's the approach that I've kind of taken over time, building a couple of different skill sets, and I guess like rounding myself as a person.
Yep. There's a couple of quirky things about you as well, and we might go into that.
Is there?
One thing that a lot of people wouldn't know about you, and I'm going to put you on the spot here because we're going to talk about. So you know how many letters are in a word when you see it, don't you?
Yeah, I can kind of calculate very quickly.
Yeah.
I'll probably stuff up now if you actually quiz me on one. But like if someone says a word, like I don't know, over a massive period of time, and I kind of switch it on and off a little bit, but I count the letters in a word, or like if you said a sentence to me and I felt like it, like I'd count all the words and then add all the letters together and come up with an N number, which is probably pretty quirky.
All right, I've prepared some stuff here.
All
right. So first word, ravenous.
8.
Correct. Grapefruit.
10.
Inspirational.
13.
Nailed it. That's pretty good.
I'm not sure if it's even that impressive. Like
I think it is.
Like some people at home are probably listening to this and they've probably done it way quicker than me or something. But yeah, I don't know. It's just something weird that I do.
That's good. You got the long hair, dreadlocks. So Lauren is a hairdresser, for those who don't know as well. So I think when she first met you, you had the short back and sides.
Yep.
And then you've obviously gone the dreadlocks.
Yep.
If she's not happy with it, no one else can.
Yeah, it's all her. Yeah, she. I think she likes it. Well, she did it a few years ago now. I put the dreads kind of in the back, and we kind of used to take care of them and that kind of thing, and make sure they were in like good condition and all that. But we've kind of let that drop away. So, like, there's a few in there that are, if you had a really close look, they'd be like coming apart and that kind of thing. It's not dirty though. I do wash my hair a few times a week. I'll put that on the table. But yeah, I feel like maybe while I've got my hair, I should do something kind of cool with it, because I'll be an old man one day and I might not have much. So for now, I'll keep it around.
Yeah, fair enough. You've done a bit of travelling as well, so you really like the actually you went to Europe pre-COVID, didn't you, as well, and was able to go to a number of the different AFL Europe I guess designations where they play some footy and they're just local people, expats. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, I did write an article for the AFLPA about that, so you'll be able to find that on their channels if you want to have a read. And that was really cool. Like, obviously, I love travelling. I love getting overseas and seeing the world. And I think it was a good kind of pairing, being able to do that with AFL Europe and with footy. And I was probably pretty shocked about how much interest there was in Australian rules football overseas. I was able to spend some time with teams in Sweden and Denmark, and they had like fully fledged sessions, big competitions. They have like their local, like in-country kind of competitions, and then they have like the World Cup, and they all kind of get together. So I kind of learned a lot along the way, and I'm kind of surprised, like, because I think AFL is like an amazing sport, or like Australian rules is an amazing sport, but it's kind of never taken off overseas to a great extent. But I think that experience maybe has shown me that there kind of is potential one day, but who knows?
Yeah. A couple of other ones. So you're really competitive with quizzes, and I know Mark Blitzarves is a massive quiz master. There's a bit of competition that goes around at the club as well. So yeah, your general knowledge is actually pretty good.
Thank you.
As well, which that's good. It's always a good thing to have. And you fold your socks as well, mostly, don't you? Like before games. Like, I think there's been people who've asked me, like, why does Cam wear his socks so that they're just white or they're just all blue?
Yeah.
So yeah, can you just debunk that myth?
Firstly, I am a great quizzer. Thank you very much. I know Blitzer's doing his podcast in a second, and can you let him know that I'm better than him?
Will do.
I think I actually like just the aesthetics of a solid sock over a striped sock. I don't know, like, I think like the Bulldog socks are cool because I think they're like they're mainly blue with a little bit of red and white, not like striped all the way.
Yep.
And so I just like the look of it.
Fair enough. And lastly, before we wrap it up, I think it'd be remiss of us not to mention our mum and I guess the support that she's provided, like dad obviously as well, but
Mainly mum.
She's been through breast cancer, and obviously I think it's more than 15 years in remission now, so which is great, and she's been such a massive support for us. It's a cause that's really close to our hearts as well. So I think it's just for us, just having something like that and her being an inspiration for us has been a really critical part of your career and our lives as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think I was at an age where maybe I didn't, like, obviously, I think I was 13 or 14. And when you hear the word cancer, like, it's obviously a scary word. But then I remember asking mum, like, is it going to be okay? And she said yes. And I was like, all right, like, awesome. Like, but I probably, looking back now, I didn't realise...
you didn't fully comprehend it.
Yeah. And appreciate, like, how much everyone around us chipped in as well. And then kind of now, any time that I can get involved in anything, I guess, charity related to breast cancer, like I jump at it just because of the experience that she went through and that other men and women go through all the time now. So, yeah, mum is obviously amazing, probably the best person I know, and she's always been there for us, and she continues to do that. So, yeah. She's a great woman.
As you mentioned, like, we're a really tight-knit family, and we always look to go to your games. Mum and Dad have been on interstate trips. Us brothers are always there if we can make it. If we're not playing games, sometimes Mum and Dad are at 3 or 4 games a weekend. So I'm pretty impressed with their ability just to back it up and go. But yeah, I think on behalf of me and on behalf of our family, just congratulations on reaching the 200 game milestone. It's a great achievement, and hopefully there's plenty more to come. Thanks for joining us on the Over the PA podcast.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Looking forward to 250.